Hi, I'm going to read a poem from my new book of poetry, Insomnia, a book that's largely concerned with the relationship between community, the self, and the world around it and us. How we take our responsibilities into an active space. So rather than just sort of saying this is good or this is bad or this is bad, this is bad, which it is very often, we actually do something about it. We react. And for me, activism and poetry are inseparable. So I write a poem to live in the world. I don't write a poem to live only in the book. I take the so-called art of writing a poem very seriously. I spend a lot of time trying to get my lines right, if you like, to get them to work the best way I can get them to work within the context of the poem. But in the end, it's the poem in the activist space, standing in front of the bulldozers, speaking out in public spaces against tyranny and oppression, caring for an animal under threat from human rapacity, working against greed and rapacity in all its forms. These are the things that matter to me as a poet. Now, obviously, for any of you who know my work, I'm very attuned to the natural world. I care passionately about it. And it's a big part of my connection with existence, with being. So when I see, as I do every day of my life almost, trees being felled, bush being cleared out of bloody mindedness, greed, a lack of understanding, and these kind of empty values, it gets to me not only intellectually but viscerally in my body. I shake and get upset. So I go and speak and I try and stop this happening. So the poem I'm going to read, the Bulldozer Poem, was written during the Row 8 highway protests in Perth, Western Australia, where a rapacious, again I use that word a lot, government and industry, working with industry, wanted to destroy the Belia wetlands, to put a largely pointless highway through a very, very rare environmental and delicate environmental area on the edge of Perth, in Perth City. I don't live in the city. I live a couple of hours away in the bush, the wheat belt, but it's a place I go to a lot. And I protested first for the Belia wetlands 34 or 35 years ago. It might even be 37 years ago now. Another section of it under threat. And that's a long story I won't go into, but that also involves resisting bulldozers. And I've written about that, and there are pieces here and there that people can find if they're interested on that particular time and approach in poetry to resisting the machinery, crushing all. This is the Bulldozer Poem. It's a without copyright poem. People can use it freely in the cause of resisting rapacity and damage to the natural environment. It's an address to bulldozers, and it's also an address to the self, and it plays with literary conventions, but in the end, it's a conversation against this kind of consuming of everything, this damaging and eating of the biosphere. The Bulldozer Poem. Bulldozers rend flesh. Bulldozers make devils of good people. Bulldozers are compelled to do as they are told. Bulldozers grimace when they tear the earth's skin. From earth they came. Bulldozers are made by people who also want new mobile phones to play games on and to feed families. Bulldozers are observers of phenomena. Decisions are taken out of their hands. They are full of perceptions. They will hear our pleas and struggle against their masters. Bulldozers slice and dice. Bulldozers tenderize. Bulldozers reshape the sandpit, making grrring noises. Kids' motor skills. Bulldozers slice the snake in half so it chases its own tail. writing in front of its face. Bulldozers are vigorous percussionists, sounding the snap and boom of hollows caving in. Feathers of the cockatoos a whisper in the roar. Bulldozers deny the existence of ether, though they know deep down in their pistons, deep in their levers, that all is spheres and heavens, and voices of ancestors worry at their peace. Bulldozers recognise final causes and embrace outcomes that put them out of work. There's always more scrub to delete. Surely. O continuous track tractor, O S and U blades, each to his orders, his skill set. Communal as D9 dozers, whose buckets uplift to asteroids waiting to be quarried. O bulldozer, your history. O those halt tractors working the paddocks. O the first slow tanks crushing the battlefield. The interconnectedness of being. Philosopher. O your makers, Cummings and caterpillars. O great cat, we grew up in their thrall, whether we knew it or not, playing sports where the woodlands grew, where you rode in after the great trees had been removed. You innovate and flatten. We must know your worldliness, working with companies to make a world of endless horizon. It's a team effort, excoriating an ecosystem. Not even you can tackle an old-growth tall tree alone. But we know your power, your pedigree, your sheer bloody-mindedness. Sorry, forgive us. We should keep this civil, O dozer. In you is a cosmology. We have yelled the names of bandicoots and possums, of kangaroos and echidnas, of honey-eaters and the day-sleeping tawny frogmouth. You kill in its silence. Now we stand before you, supplicant and yet resistant, asking you to hear us over your war cry, over your work ethic being played for all it's worth. Hear us. Hear me. Don't laugh at our bathos. Take us seriously. Forgive our inarticulateness, our scrabbling for words as you crush us, the world as we know it, the hands that fed you, that made you. Listen not to those officials who have taken advantage of their positions, who have turned their offices to hate the world and smile, kissing the tiny hands of babies that you can barely hear as your engines roar with power. But you don't see the exquisite colour of the world, bulldozer. Green is your irritant. We understand, bulldozer, we do. It is fear that compels you, rippling through eternity, embracing the inorganics of modernity. There are other clips on the net of this poem being read in situ, at moments of protest in trying to stop the rapacity, this apostrophe to a hellish device. There are actually clips on the net where bulldozer operators celebrate how quickly they clear a patch of land. They celebrate the destruction of environment, get a huge number of hits. That's mass communication in its most fetishized negative form. I mean, I suppose you can fetishize in the positive form, but that's fetishizing in the negative form. This poem is written in acknowledgement of Noongar elders of the region I come from, peoples whose land it is and whose land has been stolen. This is an anti-colonial poem, as all the poems are in my work, and all the poems are in Insomnia. The book itself, of course, you can judge from the title. I suffer from insomnia. I have all my life, and at times it's been terrible. The 2 hours a night sleeping and 2 or 3 hours a night, which I'm back to at the moment. Sometimes it's much more than that. It's just no sleep. But what I do in my time is I try and work towards some kind of environmental activism that, in poetry and so on, that actually has physical meaning. It's not just an idea, that is an actuality. Whether I succeed or not is another thing. But in this poem, the human body and insomnia and how we react and respond to the world, feelings, if you like, ideas, are all entangled with obligation, a response to the pressure around us. Obviously climate change, human-induced climate change, extinction. These things we're on the verge of constantly and are actually happening. So this book is an environmental book merged with the personal and viscerally the physical of the self. So self and community. Anyway, I hope it's of use to someone and it's there to use in resistance. Thanks.